It is time for Answers Partyline today for your Wednesday, August the 13th, 2014. Answers Partyline today brought to you by Albany Area Hospital and Medical Center and Wimmer Opticians of St. Cloud. Here on Answers Partyline, Brad Melke with you. And boy, we've got a full house today, including Mr. Dennis Fuchs, Administrator with the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District. Dennis, how are you?
Good. Thanks, Brad, for having us all here today and finding chairs for us all.
Who are us now you're referring to?
We got myself, Dennis Fuchs, with the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District, and we've got Matt Wohlman, Assistant Commissioner with the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. We got Paul Helgeson, Sustainability Manager with Golden Plump, and Greg Bohrer with the Environmental Initiative, a recent new hire that used to work with Amy Klobuchar.
That's right.
Yeah. So we're here to talk about some of the programs going on in Stearns County, and specifically to focus a little bit on the water quality certification program that the Minnesota Department of Ag is taking charge with. And that's why we got these folks here. And then also Paul with Golden Plump, their company is very interested in sustainability and are participating in the program here in the Middle Sauk. So it's a great opportunity to share some information with our listeners about this great partnership that we've got going on here in Stearns County.
Plus, we got people in the background there that aren't participating today that if we need more information, they can surely join in.
Yeah, we've got one guy that's an engineer. We said, no engineers allowed online. They might bore the audience with all the formulas and calculations.
Okay. You want to give a brief intro on the whole, just kind of the rundown of the Minnesota Agricultural Water Quality Certification Program?
Yeah, I can give a little bit of an intro. This is a new program. And like I mentioned, Minnesota Department of Ag is helping spearhead it. And they identified 4 pilot areas in Minnesota that are participating in the Minnesota Ag Water Quality Certification Program. It has been over a year ago when we've had an MOU between the United States Department of Environmental Protection Agency and the United States Department of Agriculture come together with the Governor Dayton here in Minnesota to come up with a memorandum of understanding of how we're going to achieve the goals of this program. And the Water Quality Certification Program provides certainty to the farmer that they won't see any new federal regulations or any state executive branch regulations. And the farmer has some certainty then from those new laws coming if they're certified. And then the public also receives the benefit of seeing water quality improve. So it's basically a win-win. And when I try to sell the program to a farmer, I tell them, if you're driving a vehicle down the road and you don't know how fast you're going, you can get pulled over at any time. We got a Water Quality Ag Index tool that gives you a score between 0 and 10. If you score 8.5 or higher, you're doing a job well done, and you're protecting our Minnesota resources, and you should be recognized for that. And this makes sure that you're doing enough. We'll tell farmers, well, you need to do more best management practices. You should be doing more and more. Well, how much is enough? Well, this Water Quality Ag Index helps a farmer understand when they have implemented a sufficient amount of conservation practices, be it grass waterways, following the University of Minnesota fertilizer recommendations, applying manure at the appropriate time, rate, and place. All of those things get played into this Water Quality Ag Index, and it gives a farmer the indication if they're doing enough. And that's what I really like about the program. But I think Matt might have a few other things to add about what he sees from being assistant commissioner with the Minnesota Department of Ag and what they'd like to see.
Plus, Matt, is my note say 5th generation of family farming?
Yes,
right there.
I grew up in Wendell County in southwestern Minnesota and on a corn soybean farm, a 5th generation family farm, and I really enjoyed the work that we're doing, and I think it kind of helps to bring a perspective to this program of how we can achieve good conservation, but also make sure that we continue to have a strong agricultural economy in the state. And I think all too often in our public discourse, we get stuck in this idea that you have to have one or the other. And this program demonstrates that we can have both. We can have a strong ag economy. We can have good functioning farms that have healthy soils and also contribute to good water quality in this state. So that's really our focus in helping to bring this program to Minnesota, and working with the Secretary of Agriculture in Washington and the EPA administrator, as well as the governor, to make sure we get this program implemented in a way that works for farmers, but also has measurable results for water quality.
But to find that balance, was it a challenge?
Well, I think some of those challenges are self-constructed challenges that society kind of puts up those barriers. And I think when we look at agriculture, we know what kinds of conservation practices need to be in place. Farmers have long been stewards of the land. They've all implemented conservation practices before. They know the kinds of things that need to be done. This program helps to bring the resources to play, as well as some additional knowledge to look at the farm as a whole. I think in the past we've kind of looked at one specific kind of conservation practice. We're going to install a grass waterway, or we're going to do some different tillage method. We're looking at the farm as a whole, and we're looking at it as a system, and how it interplays with each other, and making sure that we get the sufficient amount of conservation to enhance water quality. And I want to thank Dennis and his staff for being great partners in that. Without the local partners, we wouldn't be able to implement a program like this. And Dennis and his staff have great relationships with farmers here in Stearns County, and they're working very hard to make sure that we can work out the kinks in this pilot program, make it better for all farmers, and hopefully we'll be able to roll this out statewide at some point.
So is it more, Matt, learning from your side, from Dennis's side, or Dennis learning from your side, or kind of a team effort there?
Oh, I hope it's both. I think we're learning along the way. Dennis and his staff are learning about the program and what we're trying to do. And so I think it's a shared partnership that we have here in Stearns County. And, I think we're demonstrating some great results. This afternoon we'll be certifying 3 farmers here in Stearns County. Great producers, Ken and Ralph Schefers, the Schefers brothers, dairy farmers here in Stearns County, corn, soybean, alfalfa operation. They've installed buffers, grass waterways. They've installed practices to manage manure and store manure. Then we have the Larry Van Beck farm that we'll be certifying as well, and then the Altendahl farm, corn, soybean operation, again, have installed nutrient management, pest management practices, filter strips, all working with the local Stearns County SWCD and the folks here locally to work on those practices, get them installed, and then when they reach that threshold, we're able to certify them.
So with these three farms that you'll be certifying, this whole group that's here at the radio station with us this morning, are each very unique, comparing each to the other?
Yeah, every farm's different. The Schefers farm is an operating dairy farm, our corn soybean operation, alfalfa rotation. The Van Beck farm is a CRP parcel. And so every farm is different, and that's one of the challenges of developing a program like this, is that we have to recognize that all farms across Minnesota are different. Every management, the management styles of every one of those farms are just a little bit different. And we have to recognize that, each farmer has a different willingness or a tolerance for what they want to install on their farm. And so we built a program here that's flexible, that allows for those differences and allows for farmers to pick and choose the kinds of conservation practices that they want to install, the kinds of practices and procedures that they want to use in their operation, and then put that together and work with the SWCD to determine where are they at right now and what do they need to do to get to that next level.
Did you find a lot of the farmers maybe didn't know all of the options out there that they might have for these practices?
Well, I think a lot of farmers have a very good understanding of conservation practices in general. But it is a learning process, I think, for not only those of us who are implementing the program, but also for producers. And this is a good opportunity to educate producers about the kinds of practices that are out there, the kinds of resources that are out there to help them install those practices, whether it's the EQIP money or other incentive dollars to help them do the cost share. And so we've it's been a learning process all around, I think.
No, I was just wondering. I'm just trying to picture you. You have this big list of options for environmental practices and to protect the environment. Okay, let's see. You qualify for this one. We'll check that one off. That's not exactly how it works, or is it?
Well, no. I mean, what we do is as Dennis mentioned, we have this index tool. And so we're looking at nutrient management, we're looking at pest management, we're looking at tillage management. If you have drain tile or irrigation, how are you managing that drain tile irrigation? And then the conservation practices, grass waterways, installing vegetative cover, filter strips, etc. So there's a menu of options for you to choose from and to look at. And some of them, farmers may not be aware of, all of the practices and the science and so forth. And then we look at the farm as a whole. And, how does this farm meet this level of conservation for the eligibility to the program?
All right. Tell you what, we've got to take a break for some news, information, markets, and weather. And we'll be back with our guests here on KASM Radio for Answers Partyline, talking more about the Minnesota Agricultural Water Quality Certification Program. More after our news break. It's KASM Radio. Midwest Machinery brought to you Markets Minnesota Farm Network, KASM Radio, your dependable neighbor. It's Answers Partyline. And we are visiting this morning with Dennis Fuchs. He is the administrator with the SWCD. Also, we've got Matt Wohlman. He is the Minnesota Department of Ag Assistant Commissioner. Paul Helgeson, the manager, sustainability manager from Golden Plump. Did I get that right, Paul, so far?
Yep.
And also we have Greg Bohrer with us, Environmental Initiative Senior Manager. Apparently not easy for me to say, but welcome to all of you once again as we continue Answers Partyline today. We want to go to Paul now, Dennis?
Yeah, I think, we've been talking about, our federal, state and local partners, which are all government related organizations. Well, what makes the Middle Sauk pilot unique with the Water Quality Certification Program is that Golden Plump has stepped up to the plate to be part of the Water Quality Certification Program. And Paul is the sustainability manager with Golden Plump, and he's been a key partner in bringing his company in with our water quality certification process. So if Paul would like to just talk about some of the opportunities we've had working together, it'd be just awesome.
What'd you have for breakfast, Dennis, this morning? Was there
banana?
All right. Paul, welcome.
Thank you.
How do you top that, huh?
It's hard to top Dennis any time of the day. But as sustainability manager, I've been working on a lot of different issues at Golden Plump over the last about 5 years or so since I've been in this position. And one of the major things that I conducted was a life cycle assessment, which is a study that looks at the environmental impacts of a product. And obviously for us, our product is chicken, but the same methodology would apply for dairy products or beer or pretty much anything else. And the way the way you do a life cycle assessment is you look at all the ingredients, all of the processes, the distribution, and so on, and you find where the impacts are. And for consumable products like beer and chicken and dairy and cheese and so on, a lot of the impacts are in the supply chain or coming from the feed ingredients for us at Golden Plump. And with a commodity feed ingredient like the corn and the soybean meal and the other inputs that we buy, it's hard for us to select a higher environmental performance if we want those types of attributes in our supply chain. And that's where I got interested in the water quality certification program. and the idea of what can we do to work with our supply chain to improve the environmental performance of our feed ingredients coming in, mainly corn, which we buy a lot locally here. So how can we work with our community? How can we work with the Department of Ag and other stakeholders in improving the environmental performance? And I've been working on an idea called the Responsible Crop Certificate for a few years. And the concept there is that this is a way to sort of certify the environmental performance and to allow that environmental performance to, in a way, trade separately from the underlying commodity. So the crop can be grown in a manner consistent with the water quality certification program and the best practices. And that environmental performance can then be certified and traded separately from the underlying commodity. So you can still take it to the same elevator. You can still do what you would normally do with your crop. But if you're able to demonstrate that environmental performance, we're trying to create an incentive to further support and recognize those farmers that are taking the extra step on that project. And the environmental initiative, along with the Stearns County SWCD, have been instrumental partners in developing this project.
So it's just an incentive above and beyond what's already out there.
It's kind of like the icing on the cake. Yeah. The incentive payment right now in the pilot is at $5 an acre, which isn't probably a lot, but it's enough to hopefully cover the time for doing the paperwork. And really, the environmental performance that we're going for, it's the same as the water quality certification in that we're looking for an 8.5 on the water quality index. But I feel in general, the environmental stewardship, the best management practices, really pay for themselves. And there's incentives with EQIP and other programs that can help farmers bring these online. So the payment level is set at at a market rate. So it's something that the food companies can afford to buy these credits, and it's enough to compensate the farmer for his time. But the real benefit is in the environmental practices themselves and the resilience that they add to the farm and the land.
So is this already established, or is this in the process of being established?
This is in the process of being established.
Okay.
We're working with the pilot now and developing the standard, developing what goes into this 8.5, how do we trade that credit, what exactly does that credit mean in terms of environmental performance, and what would that mean to a company like Golden Plump when we're working with our customers like Target and Cub Foods, and all the way down to the consumer and the general public. And we feel it's really important that the public maintains its trust in agriculture, that agriculture maintains its freedom to operate and its social license to operate. And there's a lot of pressure on the ag community to better demonstrate environmental performance. And I think it's through programs like the water quality certification and through the responsible crop certificate where farmers who are demonstrating a higher level of conservation get the recognition that they deserve.
Dennis, do you ever get feedback from farmers that say, we've been doing this, I don't think we can do any more, we've done enough, we don't want to, work harder than we have to. Do you get any that kind of response?
I think a lot of farmers are operating at a high level already, and when we do have a farmer that approaches us that says, I think I'm doing enough to protect our resources, what I say to them is we really should run the Water Quality Ag Index tool on your farm just to validate that. And what we're finding out is that that 8.5 is not an easy score to get to. And we've had Chuck Uphoff, one of the first certified in the Middle Sauk, who previously was nominated and selected as Stearns County SWCD Outstanding Conservationist, him and his family, and he had to do some additional things. And what we're finding, if we're really going to do the job that needs to be done to protect our water quality resources, everybody's going to have to do just a little bit more. Because if we think we're going to solve today's problems doing what we did yesterday, that's wishful thinking.
Do they ever say the payback better match the investment, or is it?
And what we're finding out is that as Mark Lefebvre, the coordinator, sits down and works with these producers, they find areas where they can fine-tune their operation a little bit, and they actually can make some savings, like crop residue management, minimizing the amount of passes over their fields, and nutrient management, making sure that you're manure testing, soil testing, and applying those. And they actually find and discover ways to save money through the program. program. And if there is a problem out on their field, say they got a gully that showed up after some of our torrential rainfalls this spring, we do have special funds because of the pilot program. The Middle Sauk received $750,000 from USDA to help solve these problems so that they can get certified. And then also the state of Minnesota put in another $80,000 on top of that to help farmers implement conservation practices. And that is a tool that really has been helpful in getting these people certified. When even if they think they are at a high level, and a lot of our producers are, we don't want to be losing our topsoil, and they recognize that. But what we're seeing is that we're getting more dramatic storm events earlier in the season, and we need to make some modifications. And this tool and program has just been a great way to get out on the field, visit with the farmer with what they're doing, and then make some modifications to improve the situation.
Now, Paul, as sustainability manager at Golden Plump, do you find that you're trying to stay competitive as far as promoting this, or is this something you want others who may be competing with your business also implementing?
I'd say both. In a way, I think by leading this effort, we will enhance our brand reputation. We've been known as an innovator in the industry, and we want to continue to demonstrate that type of innovation. But I think broader, it would benefit the ag industry as a whole in terms of less regulation, higher environmental performance, more resilient landscapes. And, agriculture is part of a much larger system. And the way ag interacts with that larger system, both environmentally and socially, politically, and so on, maintaining that freedom to operate and the freedom to farm is key for the success and profitability of agriculture. So I think it's a win-win for us as an individual company and for the ag industry as a whole.
I also want to bring into the conversation Greg Bohrer, Environmental Initiative Senior Manager. Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great.
Now, are you fairly new to the organization?
Yes, I got hired about a month ago, so obviously I know everything about it.
So you're already in the loop. You did your homework. You're set to go.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on what we've been talking about?
Well, we are obviously very supportive of any kind of partnerships, programs, and projects that can help improve the sustainability of our agricultural system. And we're a partner with Golden Plump in this RCC project, creating a market for producers to get certified, get a little bit more income for doing the right thing in protecting the environment and enhancing their operation and their sustainability. So we have some funding from the McKnight Foundation and some others to try and implement this project, develop it, make sure we get buy-in from producers and marketers and consumers and retailers, and really figure out where the sweet spot is and try and get this on the go.
Do you find it kind of a challenge to get that funding sometimes that you need?
Well, again, I'm only a month in, so thankfully the funding was set up before I even arrived, so my salary is paid for, thankfully. But going forward, it will take a fair amount of resources to get this up and going. It is markets are, a functioning, sustainable market that hits that sweet spot is not an easy task. So we're in the very much the startup phase of this, trying to figure out where that sweet spot is and working and trying to get feedback from folks. And then when it comes to actually getting it up and running, it will take significant resources. But we're a ways away from that at this point.
So you kind of work with Paul and trying to make this all work?
Oh, yeah. Paul and I work very closely together. Paul was the genesis of the idea, the visionary who saw what consumers and what customers and retailers are asking for and trying to meet that ask. And he came to Environmental Initiative with this idea, said, hey, you think we could make this happen together? And Environmental Initiative is the kind of place where you really find the common ground ideas that work and get them implemented. So we're happy to get on board with the project, and I got brought on about a month ago, and we're moving forward fast.
Paul, was it as easy as Greg just described there?
Environmental Initiative is very easy to work with. Their executive director, Mike Harley, has been very supportive of this over the last couple of years. And they're kind of a scrappy nonprofit, and they have a very entrepreneurial ethic to them. And they're willing to take the risks on a new big idea like this and to try to push it forward. And they have the reputation that allows them to raise funds from well-established foundations like McKnight. So it's been great working with the Environmental Initiative. And Greg brings a lot to the table. In his past position, he worked with Senator Amy Klobuchar. He wore many hats, including working on the ag and the environment policies for the senator.
Now, Paul, as you're kind of the whole, this is your idea. This is your kind of your invention, I guess you might say.
Yeah, well, invention sounds like quite a grand
I couldn't think of a better
statement.
word than that. Concept, how about that?
I copied this concept from the idea of wind credits or renewable energy certificates.
Sure.
So if you put up a wind turbine, you can sell the green power attribute of that. And I have a friend in Boulder, Colorado, who started a company called Renewable Choice, and I wanted him to do this idea. It's like, Quail, can you're doing offsets with energy, can you do offsets with agriculture? And the energy guys and the ag guys don't really, there's not a lot of overlap between the two. So I kept kind of trying to pawn this idea off on somebody, and finally Environmental Initiative stepped up and ran with it. But of course I get looped back in and continue to work on the project.
So are you constantly, I mean, since like you said, you wanted to get this going, this whole concept, are you constantly trying to revise this idea, how we can make it better? What else can we do? What else is out there?
Yeah, we want to make it simple, but as you know, there's nothing simple in agriculture. So everything is always more complex as you dig into the details. And as we're moving forward, we look at, do we certify at farm level? Do we do it acre or by bushel? Do we verify practices or outcomes? How do we maintain that an 8.5 on the Water Quality Index is comparable from one farm to the next? There's a million of these little details that Greg, Environmental Initiative, and Dennis at the SWCD, and our engineers and all the others are working with us are tackling. And it's very complex, and the challenge is to take that complexity and to make it something simple and actionable that adds value both to the farmer and to the consumers and the corporate value chains.
Sounds like this would be a big old handbook to hand to people and say, hey, here's all the details, here's all the fine lines and all the information you need, and sounds like a lot of paperwork.
And that's what it is, but we want to get away from that. When the farmer comes to get certified or to apply for the RCC credit, we want to make it very easy for the farmer. We want that experience to be seamless. I look at something like Amazon.com and how you can order a book with one click. Is it possible to get that level of sophistication into the certification program? But if you know much about Amazon, there's a lot of back end stuff that goes into that website to generate your order, and it's that type of engineering behind the scenes where we got to roll up our sleeves and do a lot of work.
Now, Greg, when you were brought in, did you, when you heard about this initial idea, how was kind of your input and how was your response to Paul's idea?
It was a lot of excitement, actually. So in my previous work, I worked from big picture level, national landscape kind of stuff, and now this was something that was very actionable. That seemed to me to be at the right level for getting producers excited about it, getting food folks excited about it, and getting consumers excited about it. And you don't find a lot of those win-win-win situations, especially if you come from Congress. So it was great to. When I first heard about the idea, I was excited and I wanted to be a part of it because this feels like something that can really take off. Right now we're in the pilot stage. We're trying to get just a few farmers involved, make sure that we know what we're doing and figure out what works, what doesn't, move on from there. But once we get started with this is something that can grow fast and it can grow big. And we can potentially get some real landscape level changes with just small behaviors, but for a lot of farmers. And what Paul was saying before with the whole icing on the cake, it's not going to be a huge payment. This isn't going to fund your farm, but maybe this is enough that you look at it and you say, well, if I was able to get that extra $5 or whatever it is an acre, maybe I put in grass waterways. Maybe I do some sort of different kind of tillage thing, something small. But if you get a lot of people doing small things, you can fill up the bucket real quick and you can get something big. And that's what we're shooting for. That's what we're aiming for with this program.
No, Dennis, we've got you and we've got 6 others here, 3 in the studio, 3 out there as you guys go to carpool and get these farms certified. With the old cliche, too many cooks in the kitchen, has that ever been an issue?
When Greg brought up win-win-win, The Stearns County SWCD takes a lot of pride on partnering with folks, and we can't do everything by ourselves here locally. We really need support from the state, private industry, the nonprofits, and that is the strength of the Stearns SWCD, is our partnerships. And working with all of the folks here today is what makes Stearns County rise to the top, just like rise to the top beer at 3rd Street Brewery. You've got to... What?
Is it fourth beer reference today? I think fourth. Is that it? Fourth, fifth, maybe? I don't know. Go ahead, Dan.
But it's important. Partnerships is what makes us succeed here locally, and we need everybody working together. And I was going to mention earlier when Matt was talking about the program, we had an advisory committee, and I was on that advisory committee, and that was really smart of the Minnesota Department of Ag to include a lot of diverse groups. They had a lot of commodity group folks. There, the corn, the soybean, Minnesota milk producers. But we also had the environmental Minnesota Center for Environmental Advocacy, Chris Sigford, and other groups on there to look at the program that was going to be developed so that the farmers would be supportive of it, and the commodity groups. So it's been a lot of work, and it is complicated. Agriculture is not easy, but I think we're on the right path here to get more farmers to participate and solve more of our natural resource concerns.
Remind us of the 3 farms you're going to today.
What's that?
Or remind us of the 3 farms you're going to today.
We're going to be at Ken and Ralph Schefers, Larry Van Beck, and Alan Altendahl.
Now, that'll be 3 plus how many others?
I have
Total?
to check with Mark on the total number. So it'll be a total of 4 certified. We're on our way to get 668 producers produced out of over 800. That's my goal. Is
your goal?
To have 68% of the
by next
producers.
week? Or,
yeah,
no, not necessarily. No.
We do have a big goal here in the Middle Sauk to get farmers certified, and I think it is in their best interest to know how fast they're going and to see if they're doing the speed limit. And it gives all the people living along our lakes and streams and enjoying our resources that extra support for farmers that they are doing the right things to protect our resources.
And like you said, it's not necessarily easy to accomplish, but it is attainable.
Yes, it is. It is attainable, and we've got technical and financial assistance to help the producer get there.
And if people would like more information?
They can contact our office at 320-251-7800, and we're at extension 3. You can also Google us, Stearns County SWCD. We don't mind getting Googled, and you'll find us there too.
Dennis Fuchs from the SWCD. Also, we have Matt Wohlman, Minnesota Department of Ag Assistant Commissioner. Also in studio, Paul Helgeson, Sustainability Manager from Golden Plump, and Greg Bohrer, Environmental Initiative Senior Manager. Thanks all of you for your time today. I do appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Brett.